Destroying your reality is easier than you think, not because you're weak or because the world is stacked against you, but because most people are unknowingly sabotaging themselves every single day. And the real trap, it doesn't feel like sabotage, it feels like logic, like venting, like humility, like doing the right thing. But all of it is energy, frequency, and vibration. And everything you emit becomes the blueprint the universe builds from. What nobody tells you about manifestation is there's offense and there's defense. You're probably trying to manifest your dream life by setting intentions, visualizing, and scripting. But what you haven't realized is that most of your progress is being undone, not by what you're not doing, but by what you're still doing. By how you're leaking your power, scrambling your signal, and contradicting your desires on a vibrational level. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and the other foot on the brake. You stay stuck and eventually the engine burns out. So in this video, I'm giving you 6 guaranteed ways that ruin your reality. 6 patterns, reactions, habits that will drag you back to the frequency you've been attempting to escape, no matter how much effort you've put in. And trust me, you will be doing some of them, because manifestation isn't about getting things, it's about becoming someone. And true manifestation means internally shifting to the point that you are no longer emotionally dependent on external change. You don't just want the reality, you are the frequency that creates it. But if you disrupt that frequency, then everything collapses. Your efforts, your rituals, your progress, they vanish into static. Part 1. Complaining. If you want to sabotage your own reality, start by complaining. Complain about your finances, complain about your love life, complain about how people treat you, how the world works, how hard things are. Because every time you complain, you're not just venting, you're confessing. You're testifying to the universe that your current state is more powerful than you are, that it's realer than your ability to shift it. And that confession gets coded into the frequency you emit to the universe. See, complaining isn't harmless. It's not therapeutic. It's not just being honest. Complaining is a broadcast, a frequency transmission that says, this is my truth and I don't believe I can rise above it. And the universe, being purely vibrational, responds to that frequency exactly. It's not judging your words, it's responding to your energy. And your energy says, I am a victim of this. What you focus on, you fuel, and what you fuel becomes form. Complaining isn't just a reaction to your reality. It's part of how you unconsciously recreate it. Because every time you emotionally react to what you don't want, you reattach yourself to it. You give it your attention, your emotions, your energy. You emotionally charge the very thing you're trying to escape. This is why you've been complaining about the same thing for years. And that emotional charge becomes vibration, that vibration becomes frequency, and that frequency becomes your reality. That's how it works. It's not thoughts that create reality, it's emotionally charged thoughts. And complaining is a thought laced with emotional voltage, frustration, shame, bitterness, powerlessness. The universe doesn't hear your words, it feels your charge, and what you repeatedly charge, you repeatedly create. Complaining is also a form of worship. You're placing the condition you dislike onto a pedestal, giving it your presence, your emotional currency, and your belief. And worse, when you complain, you identify. You collapse the wave of possibility and say, this is me, this is where I am, and this is how things are. And by saying that this is what you are and that this is how I am, then you are perpetuating the cycle that you do not want to repeat, because all that exists is the present moment. You lock yourself into an energetic state that becomes harder and harder to shift the more you emotionally repeat it. What most people don't realize is that the universe isn't moral. It's not deciding what's fair or what's justified. It's only responding to the frequency you maintain. So while you're explaining why your life is so hard, why things never work, why people don't respect you, you are reaffirming the very identity that keeps you in that cycle. You're feeding it, you're strengthening it, you're resigning the energetic contract. And here's the kicker. Every time you complain, you reinforce your belief that the external world has more power over you than your internal state does. And once you believe that, you've already lost, because your reality always follows your inner state. So if you're serious about manifesting something new, stop confessing the old. If you're serious about aligning to the frequency of your desired reality, stop charging the frequency of your current one. Because until you stop emotionally reacting to what you're trying to shift, you will remain energetically attached to it. 2. Moralizing the universe. A huge way people sabotage their manifestations is by trying to make the universe fair. Keep believing that being a good person entitles you to a good life, that doing the right thing, having pure intentions, or following spiritual rules should guarantee a reward. That belief is one of the most dangerous illusions you can buy into, and it will quietly destroy your reality from the inside out. Because the truth is, the universe is not moral. It's not tracking your character, your karma points, or how selfless you've been this week. It's not a scoreboard. It's a mirror. A frequency-sensitive, vibrationally responsive intelligence that doesn't operate through right or wrong, it operates through resonance. Whatever you are energetically, it will reflect. And I know on a human level that's a hard truth to swallow. We want the universe to be we want our goodness to be rewarded. We want the universe to be just. We want our suffering to mean something. And when we don't get what we think we deserve, we spiral. We start to question if any of this manifestation stuff even works. But what we're really doing in that moment is moralizing an impersonal system and getting angry that it doesn't follow our logic. We see this happen everywhere. People ask, why do bad things happen to good people? But the answer isn't philosophical, it's simply vibrational. Because the universe doesn't judge who's good or bad, it simply responds to what's consistent, dominant, and emotionally charged in your field. You could be a deeply kind, selfless person, but if you carry a vibration of guilt, scarcity, or unworthiness, that's what the field will reflect back to you. And that's not a punishment, it's simply resonance. Electricity doesn't care if you're a good person. If you misuse it, you will get shocked. Gravity doesn't care how spiritual you are. Step off a ledge and you will fall to the ground. These are impersonal forces, and the same is true of universal laws. They don't operate from sentiment. They respond to structure, vibration, and belief. When you moralize the universe, you personalize a system that was never designed to operate on approval. And by doing that, you blind yourself to how it actually works. And the deeper issue is, when you think the goodness entitles you to a certain reality, you create a subtle form of victimhood. You walk around thinking, why isn't it working for me? I'm doing everything right. But if you were really vibrating at the frequency of what you wanted, then it would be working. That emotional frustration is the evidence that you're not in alignment, that you're in entitlement instead. And that is a frequency of lack. Even more dangerously, moralizing the universe creates resentment towards your own life. You start believing that the struggle is unfair, that the pain is undeserved, that the world is out to get you, and you slip into the role of the noble sufferer. But that identity, as comforting as it feels, is energetically disempowered. And the longer you stay there, the more you attract experiences that mirror that frequency. So what you need to understand is that the universe doesn't give you what you deserve, it gives you what you believe. The universe is not your parent. It's not your teacher, it's not Santa Claus, it is you mirrored. So if you want to enter a new reality, you must stop arguing with the laws of frequency and start mastering them. Elevate your vibration, not because it's good, but because it's effective, because it matches what you desire. So once you drop the moral story, you then step into vibrational mastery, and that is how you shift your world. Part 3. The trap of approval and how seeking validation destroys your frequency. Another way to ruin your reality is by keep on chasing the approval of everyone around you. Keep needing them to understand you. Keep needing them to accept you, to support your dreams, and to cheer you on. Keep shrinking, shifting, shape-shifting just to fit into the image that makes them comfortable. Because that one habit, Seeking external validation will quietly but powerfully sabotage everything that you're building. What you need to understand is that approval is energetic. It's not just a social game, it's a frequency contract. The moment you begin to break away from the status quo, when you start embodying a version of yourself that no longer reflects the norms of your environment, you're not just shifting your mindset, you're violating an unspoken energetic agreement. And that agreement says that you must be like us or we'll withhold our love. That contract is ancient. It's hardwired into the nervous system from our evolutionary past. For most of human history, being different meant exile. Exile meant death. So deep down, your brain still associates breaking the mold with danger. That's why you crave approval, is because it feels like safety. But what you don't realize is that the safety you're chasing is the same prison blocking your elevation. See, your desired reality is not normal. It's not average. It's not what the people around you are doing, which means to embody it, you must detach from the need to be understood by people who aren't even aligned with that frequency. And sometimes doing this can hurt because you will lose some connections. You'll be misread. You'll be labeled that you changed, that you think you're better, or that you've gone Hollywood on people. But what they're really saying is you're no longer giving me what I'm used to, and they can't vibrationally keep up. And the thing is, your transformation breaks the energetic mirror that people use to define themselves. When you grow, evolve, or elevate, you're no longer reflecting their current zone. So they push back, not because they hate you, but because they're clinging to the version of you that made them feel safe. And the problem is, if you need their approval, you will unconsciously self-sabotage just to keep your place in the tribe. You'll dim your light, you'll question your success, you'll feel guilt around abundance, you'll reject your own desires. Why, you might ask? Because you've associated your elevation with abandonment, with isolation, and with loss. And if your nervous system sees success as disconnection, it will fight against it every time. Even worse, approval seeking broadcasts a clearer message to the universe, which is that you don't approve of yourself. That's the frequency you're emitting. And if you don't approve of yourself internally, you will not experience external validation whatsoever. Even when it comes, it won't land. You won't trust it. You'll second guess it. You'll need more and more of it to feel safe, and the hunger will trap you in a loop of dependency and stability. So what's the right answer? Radical self-approval and internal validation. The ability to sit with your own energy without applause, without permission, and know that you are aligned because you said no. That's the only approval that holds weight in the universe. Because the moment you approve of yourself, you shift frequencies. And when your frequency changes, your reality has no choice but to reflect it. So my final question would be, who would you lose if you gained everything you truly wanted? Think about that. Whose love, attention, or loyalty is subconsciously keeping you stuck? Because if your dream requires you to be someone your environment can no longer recognize, then you're going to have to let go of being recognizable. You can either be accepted by your past or elevated into your future, but you cannot have both. And that's the third way that we unknowingly ruin our reality. Part 4. The spiritual trap of ignoring reality. There's a dangerous lie that gets passed around in spiritual circles. A subtle piece of sabotage wrapped in good intention. And it often goes something like, ignore your reality. Don't focus on what is. Keep your eyes on the vision. Stay positive and high vibrations only. And while on the surface that might sound good, it's actually one of the quickest ways to ruin your reality. Because what you're really doing is telling the universe that your current reality is more powerful than you. To break this down, reality is not just some dead backdrop you're supposed to transcend. It's alive. It's an intelligence itself. It's responsive. Every frequency you emit, every emotional reaction you suppress, every avoidance pattern you act out, reality is listening. So when you ignore your bank account, avoid the text or pretend the argument didn't happen, or bury the emotional charge and slap a positive affirmation on top, what you're actually doing is communicating fear. You're telling the universe that I can't face this and this is too much for me. And in energetic terms, that is submission. That's you stepping beneath your own creation. Because the truth is, everything in your life right now, every person, every condition, every dollar or lack of dollars, is the vibrational residue of past frequencies. You created it, consciously or unconsciously. So when you run from it, you're not avoiding some external threat. Essentially, you're avoiding yourself. You're rejecting your own manifested energy. And the moment you do that, you lose your power to transmute. Avoidance is an illusion of control, but in reality, it's the first step to energetic disempowerment. The moment you decide not to look at something, whether it's your finances, your body, your relationships, you grant that thing authority over yourself. You tell it, you define me now, and it will. Because reality left unchallenged will always reinforce and perpetuate itself. This is why a very important thing to remember is not to flinch. If you want to grow, stare your reality in the face. Sit with the discomfort. Pull up your bank account and don't look away. Open the message you've been avoiding. Look at the scale, the mirror, the truth, and breathe. Let it hit you. Let the emotions rise. Let the stories play out in your mind until they exhaust themselves. Because the illusion is that if you look, you'll fall apart. But what actually happens is you reclaim authority, you transmute the charge, and you break the spell. I have something that I call the 3 T's: transcend, transmute, and transform. First, transcend. This means neutralizing the energetic charge of your current circumstance, not ignoring it, not suppressing it, but neutralizing. And you do this by observing it without resistance. Sit in front of it and just watch. Let the panic run its course. Let the shame rise and dissipate. What you resist will always persist, but what you observe without judgment will always dissolve. Secondly, transmute. Once neutrality is reached, you now begin to consciously shift the emotional meaning of the experience. You look for the seed of power. You find the growth in pain, the clarity in the chaos. You ask, what is this teaching me? How can this serve the version of me that I am becoming? And that is true alchemy. That is you rewriting the code. And third, transform. This is the embodiment phase. This is where you act from the new frequency you claimed. You stop responding from panic. You stop hiding. You move like someone who knows the reality is already shifting because you shifted internally first. Everything you're avoiding is holding a gift, but only if you face it. The part of you that thinks ignoring reality is spiritual is actually still afraid of reality, and anything you fear owns you. So no, we do not avoid, we do not look away. We confront, we reclaim, and through that, we transcend. Part 5, the futility of outworking your frequency. Most people live as Part 5, the futility of outworking your frequency. Most people live as if physical effort is the key to breakthrough. You hustle more, you do more, you grind harder. But that mindset is exactly why they are stuck. Because the truth, the one most never come to grips with, is that you cannot outwork your frequency. You can put in 18-hour days, you can fill notebooks with strategy, you can wake up at 5 a.m. and cold plunge and take all the courses in the world, but if your frequency isn't aligned with the reality you want to experience, all of it is only a performance, an energetic loop, motion without direction, and eventually you burn out. You see, frequency is frequency is causality, not action. That's the glitch in the human game. Action is not the root of change, it's a reflection of it, a byproduct of your internal state. Your actions don't create your reality, your consciousness does. Your identity, your emotionally charged beliefs, your subconscious assumptions, that is the engine. That's where all realities begin. And where it gets real is your frequency is the ceiling your reality cannot pass. It doesn't matter how hard you try to run a business, get in shape, fix your relationship. If you're holding a frequency of unworthiness, lack, shame, or fear, you're only allowed to receive what matches that energy, nothing more. And when you try to force reality from a misaligned place, you'll only strengthen the very reality that you're trying to escape. That's why it always feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill, because you literally are. You're working against yourself. To give you a visual, imagine your frequency as the foundation of a house. If the foundation is cracked, built from scarcity, guilt, fear, and needing approval, you can build the most beautiful house in the world, but it won't stand because it's built on straw. Eventually, it collapses. Not because the work wasn't there, but because the structure was never sound and secure. When you operate from misalignment, your actions become contaminated by internal conflict. You're taking action with your body, but your soul is still stuck in a lower state. And what happens? The gym feels like a battle. The business never grows. The relationships stay chaotic. You might make temporary progress, but it doesn't hold. Why is that? Because you're still trying to climb out of the box with the same thoughts and emotions that built it. You can't take broke thoughts and build wealth. You can't take anxious energy and build peace. You can't take shame and construct love. Energetically, it just does not work out. And where the shift begins is when you start with frequency, when you tune your inner state to match the version of you who already has the thing, your actions become effortless. Not because you're lazy, but because you're aligned. Because now the external is a reflection, not a resistance. You've met those people who make success look easy, like they're floating through life. And that's not luck, that's energetic calibration. They're not pushing reality, they're embodying it. And this is what I preach in my videos, is that your priority is always internal coherence. Your job is to become the mental and emotional match for the reality that you say you want, not to chase it, but to become that which you desire to attract. The money, the body, the peace, the relationship, all of these are reflections, mirrors. They can only show you what you already are. So if you want to change the mirror, don't reach for the glass. Change the face that's looking into it. And that right there is the hardest pill for most to swallow, because we're addicted to effort, conditioned to worship struggle. But effort without alignment is the fastest way to waste your life. So in conclusion, the real enemy isn't your job, it's not your bank account, it's not your environment or even your so-called flaws. The real enemy is a scrambled frequency, your own internal disharmony that silently shapes every external struggle. You don't need to do more, you need to become more aligned. And alignment isn't just some mystical concept, it's a precise shift in perception, energy, and emotion that alters the trajectory of your entire life. Every setback, every frustration, every repeated cycle has been pointing you back to this truth, that you cannot fake your way into a reality that your energy doesn't agree with. Reality isn't punishing you, it's mirroring you. And if you want a different reflection, the work has to be done internally. So stop leaking your power through complaints, stop moralizing the universe and waiting for rewards based on how good you think you've been. Stop seeking the approval of people who would rather see you stay small. Face your reality. Stop reacting. And above all, stop trying to outwork a frequency that you have not yet upgraded. You were never meant to chase your reality, you are meant to embody it. And if this message shifted something inside of you, then don't just listen, move differently, be different. Let this be your activation point, because you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. If you want more content like this, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next time I drop a video, and leave a comment below telling me what resonated with you the most. It helps the algorithm, and it helps us build this moment together and raise the collective consciousness on the planet. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.